Hey, today's video is going to be kind of like story time. It is going to be a story, but it's not going to be story time in a way. That make any sense? I hope it does. If it doesn't, it just doesn't. Let's run that intro and I explain what I'm doing. Okay, yeah. One day I might change that intro. There's reasons I keep, and I already told you guys why I keep that intro. I mean, I got ate up with a ton. We're talking about thousands of red ants today. I made that video, or I made that intro, so I'm keeping it for that reason. I earned it. But anyway, this Friday, if everything goes well, I should be producing a video of Rabbit Hash, Kentucky. But usually whenever I make plans, somehow they get dickered over, right? But that is the plan. So today I was sitting there, well, I wasn't sitting there, I was walking. I was walking at the park today, getting my walk in, and something came to mind. Something that had, I was thinking about earlier this morning. I was talking to somebody this morning, and they was talking about the furthest they've ever walked. And it was asked upon me, how far have you ever walked, Mike? I said, well, since I've been doing a walking thing for the past 4 years, my furthest I've ever done it at one time was 8 miles, and that kicked my butt. But there was a time I walked 35 miles in one day. And actually the plan was to actually walk 35 miles one way and 35 miles back, which would make 70. Let me tell you about that. Many years ago, I was about 21 years of age, and I lived above my sister, okay? And we was talking one day, and everybody was talking about how far they walked and stuff like this, and I came up with the plan. I said, well, I got the next 3 days off work. I'm going to walk to Dad's and back. They're like, you're out of your mind. I said, I could walk to my father, I could walk to Dad's house and back in one day. My sister says, there's no way. So we kind of made a friendly bet. No money or anything like that. If anything, I probably would have bought her a beer at the bar, or I might have, if I lost, I would have cleaned her house, or she would have cleaned my apartment, which was above her. She was my landlord, by the way. So I got it in my head the next morning I was going to get up very early, eat breakfast, and take off. And I did. I took off about 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, I didn't walk a lot of it. I jogged some of it to make up time. Back in them days, I was extremely fit. So I walked about 3 or 4 miles, then I jogged about 2 or 3 miles, then I walked 3 or 4 miles. Well, next thing I know, it was about 12 noon. It was time to have lunch. Now, I wasn't going to stop off at McDonald's and sit down and have lunch. I was going to go grab the lunch and eat it on the way. Now, by 12 noon, I was almost to my destination. I was almost there. So pretty much, I have my lunch. I make it to my destination. Finally, I don't really know what time it was, guys. I have no clue. It's so many years back, I don't remember what time it was, but I do know once I got to Dad's house, I got inside and I sat inside his house and I rested for an hour at the kitchen table, and I drank a lot of water, and on the table was a carpet knife. Almost a carpenter's knife, but it was a carpet knife. You guys know what a carpet knife is? A carpet knife's blade kind of curves like that at the end of it. And this was a very large carpet knife. And I asked Dad, I said, can I borrow that? Because I laid carpet in my little apartment at home, and it kind of like, it was half of it was like leaned up against, running up the wall, and I wanted to trim it up. He said, sure, you can borrow that. I said, okay, I'm headed back home. He says, you sure you don't want to ride? I said, nope. A bet is a bet. He says, sorry, but you're dumber than a box of rocks. And with that being said, I said, so long, Pop. And out the door I went. Okay, this whole video may be a flop. My memory card decided to have issues in the middle of my video. Oh, lovely, huh? Just more problems with this new camera. I'll make a video on that one day. Let's head down here where Stormy is, and we'll finish the story. So I head out, I get out of town, I get into the town next to us, and, I'm sitting there thinking, I was like, by the time, I get home, it's going to be real late at night, and if I take the expressway, I could cut out 5 miles. But you're not allowed walking, no pedestrians whatsoever is allowed walking on the expressway. I said, it's starting to get dark. You know, who's really going to see me? So if I went straight, I would have been on the road I used to come up, but I went to the right and I went on the expressway. And I got about a half a mile down on the expressway, 2 cop cars with their lights pulled up behind me. Instantly in my mind, I wasn't worried. I was like, the only law I'm breaking is I'm walking the expressway. The worst thing they're going to do is tell me I can't do that, for me to turn around and go back to the road. No big deal. Well, they get out of their cars. They make me come up to the police car, and it's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm walking back home to Ohio. Okay, may I ask why you're walking? So I told the whole story. How my sister said I couldn't do it, and I said I could, and somehow that cop did not believe me. He says, okay, there's something wrong with your story. It sounds a little suspicious. So I need you to put your hands on the cop car, and he goes to commence to searching me. Well, guess what he finds? He finds that carpet knife. What's this for? I said, what do you think? It's used to cut carpet. I borrowed it from my father. He says, oh. He says, okay. He puts it up on the top car. He says, wait here a minute. He went and talked to the other cop. Next thing I know, to come back, put me in handcuffs. Yeah. Handcuffs. Telling me, you're not under arrest. This is for our protection. I was like, yeah, like, what am I going to do? I mean, really? So he asks me again to explain the story. This time I'm sitting in the back of the cop car in handcuffs, and I tell him the story again. I was like, I made a bet with my sister I could walk to my father's house and back in one day, blah, 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 blah. I done told you the story I don't know how many times. He's like, okay, listen, we're going to take you back to the station. You're not under arrest. The only reason I put you in handcuffs is just for our protection. We're going to go back to the station and see if we can get to the bottom of this. I was like, seriously? Now, you would think I would be very upset because I'm in the back of the cop car, supposedly not under arrest, but I'm in handcuffs. But no, all I can think about is, damn, I'm going to lose that bet now. And I'm pissed about that. Pretty funny, huh? So we get back to the police station, and it was correct. I was not under arrest, and I'll tell you how I knew this. We get into the police station, they take the handcuffs off, had me sit by the front door, and the cop says, stay there, you know, we'll be back in a few minutes. Nobody else was around. I could have walked out the front door. So that just told me right there I was just being detained, you know, because they want to, because evidently my story sounded bogus to them. So about 15, 20 minutes, an older police officer comes out and sits down. He says, how you doing? He told me his name. I said, my name is Mike. And he says, what's going on tonight, Mike? I said, like I told your other 2 officers, I made a bet with my sister that I could walk to my father's house. I told him what town, and walk back in one day. I said, I had a couple days off work. I was bored. And as far as the carpet knife goes, my father had it on the kitchen table. I asked if I could borrow it. I said, because back home, if you want to come to my house, I'll show you I have carpet I need to trim up. He says, well, you got to understand our position. You know, it's not really too late at night, but it's after dark. You're walking down the highway, the freeway, with a knife, and, you know, isn't that a little suspicious, dude? I said, no, not really. And I even giggle a little bit, and the officer says, I don't see the humor in this. He says, if I call your father, can he confirm this? I said, my father doesn't have a phone, because after my mom passed away, Dad got rid of all the phones because he hates telephones, which is true. My father despised the telephone. And he says, oh, I see now. So, see, your story, that gets a little fishy right there, too. Now the only person who could confirm this would be your father, and if I can't call him, I said, well, just drive out to his house. But more than likely, he's not going to be home, because this time of night, he goes and visits his friends. He's like, okay. He says, what's your father's name? I told him my father's name. He says, really? And then he says, is your mother named Evelyn? And I said, yeah. He says, your mother passed away a couple years ago. He says, I know your father. My brother used to work with your father at General Motors. I said, oh, really? Awesome. I said, yeah, Dad retired. He says, and you're Michael. I don't know you personally, but I know you by talking to your father. He says, okay, I get it now. He says, why in the world would you be walking from Ohio to Indiana and back on a bet? I said, because I can. And he says, can you see where I would see this, we seeing this as suspicious? I said, just to save trouble. I said, yeah, which I didn't at the time. All I know is, thanks to these darn cops, I'm going to lose my bet. He says, okay, I'm going to give you back the carpet knife, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you to go back to your father's and let him drive you home tomorrow morning. So I had to walk all the way back to Dad's house, which was only 5 miles. I get to Dad's house, tell him, and the only thing my father can do is make jokes about it. Wet bird don't fly, Michael. A jailbird. I said, I was never arrested, Dad. I was just detained. He says, told you it was a stupid idea. You're dumber than a box of rocks, Michael. You know, he gave me hell the whole night long. The next morning, he took me back home, and yeah, I lost the bet. But I did do 35 miles. If not, well, actually more like 40. Because I had to walk back to Dad's house. I did it all in one day. And I could have done it if I didn't get pulled over by the police officers. And do you know, since I am the age I am now, since I'm a 52-year-old man, I could see the cops point today. Back then, I didn't see it. Not one bit. But guys, there you go. And, you know, today when I was walking, I thought of the conversation I had with this morning with some people, you know, some friends of ours, and they asked the furthest I ever walked in this, you know. I didn't tell them the story. You know, I thought I'd save it for you all. But yeah, hopefully I could pull this off and go to Rabbit Hash and get the footage that I wanted to get the other day. But don't count on it, because whenever I make plans, somehow they get dickered over. But just maybe once, you help me. Till next time, guys, leave comments. Let me know the furthest you've ever walked. Put down in the comments how far you've ever walked in one day. You know, did you walk? You probably walked further than I did. But until next time, come on. Let's get out of here. I got to get to the store now. Yuck.